the power of gratitude. The benefits of gratitude range from deeper sleep and better health to higher self-esteem and enhanced stress resilience. Gratitude has been a very important part of my spiritual and meditational practice over these last decades. Hello, my name is Tony Samara, and I want to share with you some reflections about how cultivating gratitude can transform the way we see ourselves, our relationships, and the world. It's very interesting to look at deep gratitude by understanding that gratefulness is not circumstantial or conditional. We very often experience gratitude when we experience something that we want. Yet it is much more difficult to experience gratitude when life doesn't deliver those things that we want or the things that we bargain for. This sort of attitude means that having more gratitude can be like another thing that we put on our to-do list. So we end up trying to orchestrate experiences in order to feel more gratitude. And we're often disappointed if we don't have those experiences. For me, gratitude or deep gratitude is an overall orientation to life. So when we wake up in the morning and experience a sense of gratefulness just for the fact of being alive, then our heart and senses open up to the gifts and the possibilities and the potential of this beautiful day that we're just appreciating and connecting to through gratefulness. This is a more radical approach to gratitude that is not really dependent on something happening to us, but rather is a way or an attitude or a perspective that helps us to enjoy life from a very deep and connected space. We can practice being grateful for what we take for granted. To explain, a famous Buddhist explained it this way: when we have a toothache, we know that not having a toothache is happiness. But later, when we don't have a toothache, we don't treasure our non-toothache perspective of life. Or to put it in another way, you don't really know what you've got until it's gone. Gratitude is very interesting. When we begin to look at deep spirituality, or when we understand meditation from that deep perspective, we understand that many of our experiences happen because of grace. And grace really is a way of connecting to life that it communicates, I am so grateful to be alive. It's a gratitude that is part of your expression and your communication. There is always something to be grateful for, even in the midst of the most difficult of experiences. And what do I mean by this? Well, even in the midst of fear and pain, even in the midst of experiences that might be challenging, and there are many, whether it be physical situations such as ill health, cancer, or whatever that creates just this sense of negativity within. Cultivating gratefulness in such a situation can be very, very powerful and can help us to look at things more deeply. We can face our mortality in a more real way. We can face our understanding of various situations from a very deep perspective. So gratefulness really is asking us to find opportunities to grow and learn and love, even in those moments when those opportunities seem to be very much more about pain than beauty. but we can turn those darkest moments to very insightful wisdoms. And once those moments have passed, we can live more fully and more deeply in the present, while remembering that, just as the Buddhist monk explained, that once we had a toothache and now we don't, and that all experiences are part of being human. But we must remember not to forget. And when we understand this, when we don't forget that everything is such a powerful gift, when we remember the fullness of our experience, then we can put into practice this sense of openness or vulnerability. Gratitude requires this vulnerability. It's interesting, really, when you look at it. Gratefulness means that we have to open up sometimes to what people and what we may think is uncomfortable. We don't really get joy without feeling grateful. But being grateful also induces a kind of vulnerability that some of us at times find very complex and very difficult to put into practice. When we are grateful, we are more present and less closed. We are somehow more likely to open our hearts and to communicate from the space of love to the people around us. We recognize our deep belonging and our tenderness and strength by truly treasuring those experiences that we're having in life, whatever they are, without judgment, and understanding that they're transformative, that they have a transformative capacity that helps us to develop within ourselves this sense of vulnerability, but at the same time, a sense of gratefulness. And this allows us to express our gratefulness. And this expression or communication can help us to deepen our relationships with people around us, but also our relationships with everything, with friends, with family, with the world, with nature, with just our culture, with everything. When we somehow understand that gratefulness has the potential to transform not only intimate relationships, but all sorts of relationships, so that we shift from just seeing life as an interesting experience that's happening to understanding the depth of the communication that we are part of, then we begin to appreciate the person. We begin to appreciate our friends. We begin to appreciate our family, not because of life just happening, but because we are taking the time to express our gratefulness from deep within our hearts. We are taking the time to express our gratefulness, our appreciation in ways that make sense. So the words that we use and the bodily communications that we portray to those around us comes from a depth, from a wonderful depth. And it's not just a space that we take for granted. We don't just, okay, this person is in my life. We begin to appreciate that this person is in our lives, a person that we love. We begin to appreciate in a very stunning and powerful way. And this can quickly change relationships from just being mundane relationships to being very intimate, very deep, very powerful, and very full of joy. This is what gratefulness is about. Also, remember, when you begin to feel in this way, when your heart begins to speak to you rather than just the mundane mind saying, oh, this is life, what's next? When can I feel better about whatever it is that my mind is thinking about? What should I do? Should I go shopping, or should I find some interesting entertainment to busy myself with? When we let that go and we begin to connect to our hearts, then we begin to recognize that gratefulness can drive social action. So gratefulness doesn't just change your life and your relationship and your potential to transform in those relationships, but also helps you to change your life, which means extending gratefulness beyond your intimate sphere. And this gives rise to something I believe to be so very important. This has been part of my practice for a long time. Love. It gives rise to love. In the Buddhist terminologies, this love is expressed as compassion or kindness. But love, as I understand it, has so many interesting and beautiful attributes, including forgiveness and empathy, and the love informs us how to treat others and how to act in the world from a very loving space. And it's something that is so very important in today's world, something that is missing from today's world. So gratefulness makes us better people, more connected to our hearts. And we help to heal the planet by being who we truly are, connected to our hearts, connected to our compassion, connected to our kindness, connected to our love. This helps the planet because we begin to open the doors of generosity. We begin to open the doors that helps us to communicate to the world in a very, very different way. And I think that this is natural for everyone. We all love our environment. We all love the earth. We all love nature. We all love all the beautiful things that are part of our experience. That there is so much interesting information out there that can teach you about so many different things. The world is an incredible place. And today we live at a time when things are changing very dramatically, but we still have so much to feel grateful for. Something or some aspect of life, when connected to from within your heart, can help you to feel very grateful. And you can begin then to notice what can you do to help the world and express that help or that care or that nurture in a more loving and a more powerful and profound way. How can you take care of the space and be a guardian and be exploring what it means to connect to the world in this sort of nurturing way? When you begin to think in this way, you reframe everything towards gratefulness. Your everyday life is reframed, restructured, so that the focus is gratefulness. And really, if you look at this, think of all the things on your to-do list today. Maybe I have to go shopping, or I have to finish a project at work, or I have to complete something, clean the house. And now change this and change the words. And instead of I have to do the shopping or I have to complete whatever, express it in a different way. I get to. So you have the gift to do these things. Now when you look at the practice from this perspective, that you have the chance, you have the possibility to get to do so many interesting things, then gratefulness comes from a state of positivity. And it's a totally different frame that you can utilize around those things that you need to do in your life. It's a totally different frame of thinking that then helps you to shift your obligations or your needing to do certain things to possibilities, opportunities, privileges. You're privileged to be part of this wonderful experience that we call life. And just for the privilege of being part of life in this way, gratefulness emerges from within your heart and expresses a new energy, a new approach to this moment, a new approach so that these moments that you're looking forward to, that you get to do, are not tasks, but rather gifts that the world is sharing with you. This model helps us to connect gratefulness on a very deep level to our experience that's happening in this moment, so we live more graciously and more generously. The most meaningful moments of life contain within them gratefulness. It's not about liking, it's not about wanting, it's not about needing, Really, the social media of today is very manipulative, and we can somehow forget what is important because the social media is all about content rather than expressing genuine gratefulness. And if we look from this deeper perspective at our experiences, if we look at our experiences from genuine gratefulness, then I think what we begin to embrace in life is much bigger than the ego, much bigger than those needs and desires that the ego creates. And we don't have to partake in the social media in the way where we post a perfect picture or post on Facebook something that in content looks great, but loses the meaningfulness when you look at the bigger picture. We don't have to feel gratitude because we're this or we're that, we're fulfilling this need or fulfilling that need. It doesn't matter what the content is. Really, in the end, it's your attitude. And it's good to be vulnerable. It's good to be open. It's good to be receptive, so that you know when the present moment touches you very deeply, touches your heart, so that your heart can express being very grateful, then this moment is just mysterious, and it can't be translated into content and then shared for likes on a Facebook or an Instagram post. Really, in the end, it's something more authentic. It's not about hashtagging or whatever else people do on social media today. It's more about gratefulness means being okay with things as they are, even if they don't work. It's not about forcing ourselves to accept things in our lives that we don't enjoy, but rather it's about awakening the possibilities for positive change and embracing whatever those lessons are from a state of gratitude. In order to enjoy life, try now changing your perspective. Not try, do it. Practice gratefulness and become more alive and more awake. So this means whatever is happening to you, create a sense of acceptance. Create more acceptance around this experience. And create this new reference in your life that things that don't fit or don't match or don't align are actually not a struggle. They are somehow stepping stones that will help you to move to a space that is so much more profound, so much more interesting than the judgment that the mind creates when it sees that there is a problem, or when the mind sees that something is not fulfilled. What I'm saying is, deep inside of your vulnerability, feel grateful for the gift of life. You are much less likely to say and do those things that hurt you if you open up in this way. So it doesn't mean that you need to embrace the negative, but actually what you're doing is embracing your vulnerability, your authentic self, with an attitude of gratefulness. Remember, and this is something I repeat to myself many times, your time is limited and your experiences are fleeting. So it's important to treasure every moment in this powerful way where you're vulnerable, open, and not trying to reach for something that the mind is telling you will bring you happiness, but rather by being grateful for those gifts that are present in your life right now, right here, right in this moment. Thank you.